Hey everyone, my name is Downey Lawrence and I want to introduce you to something a little bit different. I want to introduce you to the Strength Shed Sessions. Hi, my name is Downey Lawrence and welcome to another episode of the Strength Shed Sessions. Today I have a very interesting chap. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. A guy who's basically started out in the army and is now training to be sort of a semi-stuntman, actor, and I'm very much looking forward to what he's got to say. Shane Rawlings.
Hi guys, my name's Shane Rawlings and I'm from Cornwall. I grew up here and ultimately moved back here after the army.
Yeah, the army. I can't wait to hear about this. Yeah. My brother's in the Navy, so it's like, you know, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah.
So you say you grew up in Cornwall. Where did you grow up, and what was it like?
So the early stage, I grew up in Bodmin, and then I kind of had a little mix of getting thrown between my parents that they split at an early age. So I moved from Bodmin to St Austell, back to Bodmin with my mum, and then ultimately around the age of 10 or 11, I moved back with my dad to Lostwithiel, and that's where I spent most of my teenage years growing up, causing all mischief.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you mentioned just off camera a little while ago that you and your dad had recently been on the moors. Did you see the beast at Bodmin Moor or no?
No, sadly not, but I saw the remains.
Oh, really? Fair enough.
I'm sure there's a joke there somewhere.
Yeah, we won't go there. So would you say, what sort of childhood would you say you had?
Yeah, fairly normal one. You know, parents split at an early age, and just I guess the normal of just going between them. A good adventurous one. Certainly lots of stories. You know, the fishing, walks, river swimming, jumping. Obviously, Cornwall's a great place to grow up.
Really is. So you were really outdoorsy, were you?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing I try to implement now into my stepkids. I've been a big part of their life from an early age. But that's
boys or girls?
Both, boy and a girl. Yeah. So yeah, that's lucky there. So, but no, like I said, the outdoor stuff, it's brilliant. And luckily, the youngest Liam, he now prefers that rather than standing on his Xbox all day, which
you're going to have to write a guidebook for that.
Yeah. So he loves going to the beach, going to the rivers, especially with the cousins. We're quite a close-knit family with my cousins and that, so they've got young kids as well. So the rock climbing, the cliff jumping, and snorkeling as well. That's his newfound love.
Oh, really? Where'd you do that?
Polcaris,
nice.
Polcaris in St Austell Bay in Cornwall. But it's beautiful there, and especially with some of the weather we've had recently.
Yeah, we've been really lucky, right?
Luckily there's some quiet spots in Cornwall, so you can kind of avoid the main crowds.
Don't say where they are. Don't say where they are.
Yeah, secret.
Yeah, keep them a secret.
I'll tell you on after.
Yeah, nice. Write it down. Cool. So I mean, as I introduced you, I mentioned the army and I mentioned the acting, stunt stuff that you were looking into. What drew you to that? Because that's epic.
So you got to do 7 things you've got to be proficient in to a certain standard, and then you send it all to equity, and then they approve you as a stuntman. Yeah. I never got that far because I kind of got distracted by the acting side.
Right.
I found that more as a remedy, like a medicine to keep the brain. That scares me more, but in a way I enjoy it to keep me on my toes. It's not. I'm normally quite a shy person, but I just found with the acting stuff, you can really be whoever you want to be.
I love that.
You can make things up. And the great thing about being in Cornwall as well, there's a lot of short student films as well, and that can help. I've never had any formal acting training. So you
never went through because I know they do film stuff over at Tremo campus.
That's right,
Have you had any involvement with that? Or?
Yes, I've done a few short student films there. That was for me. So when I started, when I left the army, it took a while for me to kind of get, but I always thought I want to be in film.
So you knew that then? Even in the army?
But it's funny actually, before I even joined the army, I was an extra in Doc Martin. I'd done one way back in the early series.
I'm going to look for that.
Yeah. and that was quite cool. Then I'd done my basic training, and between phase 1 and phase 2, I was in the right place at the right time. A friend's sister came up to me and said, "Do you want to be in a film?" And I was like, Yeah, because she had overheard me in the bar and I had 2 weeks off, and she was like, "Are you free for the next few days?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she said, "Do you want to be in a film?" So I was like, "Yeah, definitely. Yeah, why not?" She said,
He says no.
You're going to be climbing rigging on a tool ship, and it turned out it was Alice in Wonderland when it was filmed down here.
Wow.
I think it was filmed back in 2007,
Is that
2008.
is that Johnny Depp?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
He wasn't there for this particular scenes, but obviously, you know, the director of the Batman, I forget his name.
Christopher Nolan?
No, not Christopher Nolan. The Beetlejuice, the early Batmans. And
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton,
Yeah,
that's the one, yeah. Wow. So you got to meet him and got to meet the lady who played Alice, Maya Wachowski. She's done, incredibly well. So that was quite good. That was kind of like an insight to I say stunt world, but they were using the ship staff to do the climbing the rigging, because obviously there was a certain element of danger to that. So they put us through a day's course to go do that.
A day?
Yeah. So we spent a day just climbing up and down like some ridiculous heights on this ship. I've never done that
heights
before.
or anything like that?
No, I'm not now. I'm just crack on and do it.
Did you learn that skill in the army? Or was that something you did anyway? Because you say you're outdoorsy, so...
I've done a lot of rock climbing. I grew up through. I went through like air cadets when I grew up, and you know, you do the cubs and beavers and stuff growing up, and you go away on these venture camps and you do a lot of, and especially with the air cadets, we do a lot of rock climbing. So it was just
so rig.
Yeah, so that was quite cool, and just gone up there, like I said, just climbing all day every day, and then the filming began over 2-3 days, and then at the end of it, they had a little. I think it was the end of the whole filming for that film anyway at that point. So someone came down with a few crates of beer, and we ended up staying on Charlestown Harbour for quite a bit of the night with Square Sail, I believe it was at the time, that owned the ships. And the lead actress, she stayed behind for a little bit. So I got a crew hat and a signed hat at the time. Nice. And I was just like, wow, this is cool. So anyway, I took those stories with me to the army, and they all laughed about it. And then I remember my sergeant at the time going, if you need to get away to do anything, just let us know. Oh, but really? At that point, it was kind of, well, this is my focus, the army now.
That's quite cool, though.
So that was nice to know at the back of the head that they were willing to let that happen. And so from there, that was always like I always had it was always one of those stories you'd tell, and everyone was always, it was quite brilliant. And I think movies are a massive thing in the forces, definitely in the army, with the downtime you get for my unit, who I was with in the Air Corps. I was out in Northern Ireland for the majority of my career, so it wasn't always coming home at the weekends.
So talk about that, the army bit, and then we'll sort of go back towards it.
So there was not a lot of downtime, but I mean the downtime we did have, obviously you seclude yourself to your room, and film was a massive part of that. Obviously you go out, buy the DVD and you come back and you watch it, and I've always been fascinated by TV and film, the effects. I just find it so deceivingly clever. Obviously now that I know what I know from it all, it's just...
Has that spoiled it or not really?
No, a few people have asked me, and it doesn't. It's just, I still look at it now like it did not look like that when I was there. And just, it's
if only people saw off camera here, it's like chaos.
No, it was, that's one thing that still amazes me. But going back to the army, the film played a lot of, it was a massive part of my downtime.
So you could lose yourself, because I suspect you had a few bad days in the army.
You do it sometimes, whether you got shouted at or, or whether it wasn't something pleasant. But, Northern Ireland was a busy place for us, and it was a very unique job we had. So I remember when I finished phase 2, me and 2 of my other closest mates that we went through together, we were called into the office, and our corporal at the time said, well, we all had our choices. And when I was looking at it, I was like, well, I'm single at the time. As much as I wanted to be close to home, there was no posting in the Air Corps close to home at the time. I didn't really want to stay at Middle Wallop in Salisbury Plain at the time, because you kind of grow to hate the place a little bit. But when you're going up there at phase 2, you just want to get away. You want to explore the wider world of the army and see what it's about.
And which is the reason you sort of go. One of the reasons.
You'd be lying if you said no to that. And so we got in there, and this Corporal Roots guy, he's sadly passed away now, but he went, best posting ever, Northern Ireland. You're going to love it. He said, unfortunately, the job you're doing, So I'm like, okay. I was like, Northern Ireland. All I was going from my head, like, how am I going to tell my family this? This is crazy. Like, I've never even been to Northern Ireland. Right. I'm pretty sure I didn't even know where it was at the time. I did, but
I know.
But I'd had no idea, the troubles it has over there at the time. So we got out. Well, yeah, at the time we were in the office and we came away from it like, we're going to Northern Ireland. Bloody hell!
What year was that?
This was 2007, I believe, maybe 2008. But so we were just like, well, this is mental. And so yeah, we've jumped on the plane. We've all met up at one of the London airports and we've flown over together. We just had not a clue.
Had you done a lot of travelling before that? Like, had you left?
No,
the country. Yeah.
I think I'd done a holiday to Spain and I'd been to Germany actually. I still class her as a stepmom. She was a massive part of my life. And yeah, we've been to Germany and so this was still kind of as I think with a more of a older head on. Yeah. It was it was still quite unique. I couldn't get my head around it, to be honest, at the time. I'm still just like, wow, I still can't believe I said yes. Well, I didn't have a choice, but we got there. So we joined a small, it's called, I think it was a ground surveillance troop. So it was kind of unique to the Air Corps. I'm not sure if it's still, I don't think it's still going. It was a strange job. Yeah. I'm not sure I'm supposed to talk about it, but we'll give it a go.
Let me know and I edit it out.
But so like normally when you join the Air Corps as a private or air trooper, you go into ground crew or signals. We'd done those courses, and me and my two mates, we'd done pretty well in the signals course. I don't know whether he was doing that to make us try and accept it. And he's like, yeah, get into a small surveillance. We got there, and we had an interesting 4 or 5 years. There it was, especially June, July season, the marching season. We'd do a lot of. You know how the police cameras work on board helicopters?
Not really, no.
So they've got a giant camera bolted on, and they'll send that link to someone on the ground, and it's quite impressive. Yeah. And we were very lucky with the job. And like I said, it was quite a weird place for us at the time. When shortly after we'd gotten there, the Mazarine barracks shooting. I don't know if you ever heard about that one. The guy's gone out to collect the pizzas the night before. No, go for it. And then one of the IRA members had shot them down at the front gate. Oh, man. So that was our first major, like
that is pretty major
to the army. And we were just like, although it was down the road from us, it was still a massive. Like I said, we weren't directly involved with that, but it was brought home the reality of. And bear in mind, this wasn't before we even got to Afghanistan or anything like that.
Right, so you did that as well?
Yeah, well, I went to Afghanistan as well. So like I said, so from Northern Ireland, I managed to go to Canada. I'd done a little bit in Canada. And then, so you do massive exercise, you've got the prairies up there. It's huge ground, so it's a hell of a place. And so I went there. I wasn't there for that long, but I got there at the end of winter, and I remember putting the flagpole up one morning.
So it's winter in, you say, Canada?
Yeah, wow. And the wind. Like I said, I've been to some really cold places, not through the army, but I think I've been to. No, I don't think I have been to Bulgaria. Yeah. And that was like -15 to -20 at one point.
Blimey.
But it was -5 in Canada, but it's the wind chill. And I remember putting the flag on. I didn't take my gloves with me. And it doesn't take long to raise the flag. And my fingers were just, it was the worst. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not a cold. The cold is my enemy.
Yeah.
I noticed this when we went to the North Pole to see Santa with my kids.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty cool. But
did you meet the big man?
Yeah, and he's all hard. It was all brilliant. It was actually very emotional. But there you go.
Yeah.
So, going from the army, and we'll probably get onto the acting in a moment. But I suspect from what you've just said that that's provided some really hard moments. So what would you say one of the hardest moments? It might not be that, but what was been one of the hardest moments?
Yeah, so, obviously you're going to come with the hard moments, and I think 2011 in general was my hardest moment. It was physical, it was mental, and I really suffered that year.
How did you feel?
Again, a mixed bag of emotions, and like I said, so initially started off great. The year was great. I wanted to join the Special Forces, so I went and did. It's like a briefing course. It's like a selection to make sure you're up to the standards
and you
before
maybe understand what you're getting into.
Exactly. Yeah, because so many people just like see the name like the SAS, the SBS, the SRR, and they're like, I want that. And these are all tier 1 units. And obviously, some people, I don't think they, for a young lad as myself, I did my research at the time. I was training mega hard, and that's one thing I've always done with my training since discovering it. Yeah. I give it all the effort. Some of the guys will tell you I was out at 6 o'clock in the morning before going into work in Northern Ireland, although we were quite restricted to base, but I was doing my long 8-10 mile tabs a morning, and then as well as my gym in the afternoon, and carrying your berg and with some weight on, and I was just trying to get as fit as I can. I knew what it entailed, so I started off the year really, really good. I'd passed my briefing course and I was set to go really. I was due to go on the summer selection course. So I'd done my pre-1, due to go on selection. But somewhere along that point, a friend of mine, one of the close mates, he was having a few issues at home where the sergeant had pulled me to the side and said, look, I don't really want this lad going to Afghanistan. Is there any way you'll take his place? So I was just like, yeah, not a problem at all. And I kind of justified it to myself. I thought, well, I'd hate to... You hear the horror stories on selection. I'm sure you're familiar with the SAS programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you'll hear horror stories throughout the army, and people are like, oh yeah, he failed because of this, he failed because of that. And then one of the ones that kept coming up was so-and-so failed because he didn't have enough operational experience. And I thought, crikey, although at the time I didn't really understand Northern Ireland still, although it was busy, and we worked alongside some of these units. So obviously that's initially what inspired that course. And but going back to that, a friend of mine was having a few issues, and they said, basically I was called to take his place in Afghanistan. So I was like, yeah, good to go. Although, funny enough, the Afghanistan moments wasn't the worst time of that year. Whilst I was halfway through it, my nan passed away. But my nan to me at that moment in time, so when I joined the army, my dad went up, and as we spoke about before, he then moved to Bulgaria. He's like, right, you've finished phase 1 training. That's my cue to go do what I want to do. So I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. So he'd done that, and I effectively moved in with my nan. So she became my mother figure. At that moment in time, I wasn't close with my mum, and so I lived with my nan, and I was coming back every weekend, and we were really close. And like I said, she was.
And you're abroad, and she passes away. That's
and
really sad.
Yeah, unfortunately. So you're given a paradigm card, and you get a certain amount of minutes every week to use on a phone call or on the internet. So I was off shift, if you like, off shift, and we got this ISO container, and it had like these computers in. Right. So I was like, I had like 3 minutes left. I thought I'd just check in on good old Facebook at the time. Yeah. And I've seen someone on Facebook that implied my nana passed away, and I was just like...
And that's how you found out?
Yeah, that's how I found out, unfortunately, yeah. Still. Man. So that was really annoying. Yeah. But my uncle, he was in the Navy as well, so you imagine the banter is good there.
Yeah, the banter. That's what I was trying to navigate that.
But... So he knows he was quite high ranking in the Navy at the time, so he had gone down the right channels. However, before I'd gone into shift, I hadn't seen my OC at the time. So
what's OC?
Officer in command.
Right.
So he was the boss man for our little unit. So I've then gone. Yeah, I've checked Facebook. Basically, someone implied it, and obviously I'm not silly as.
No.
And I was just like, So I was a little bit quiet, and so we had like a small man team. We were waiting for this vehicle to come pick us up and take us to...
So you didn't tell anyone, you just sort of dealing with it?
Well, I wasn't my usual self, and the sergeant picked up on it. He went, Rawlings, I think all right, mate. And I was just like, I'm not sure. I said, I think my nan's passed away. And then he's like, well, was she close? I was like, well, she's my next of kin. I live with her at home. And what was so weird about it as well is I spoke to her a couple of days beforehand, and she was just her usual bright self. But sadly, she'd been... Yeah. It was cancer. Okay. Evil C word.
Yeah.
And it was just so... Didn't let an inkling, but she was like that. She knew I was away, and she didn't want to worry me.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that logic.
Yeah.
It's still sad.
So that's it. And I was just like... So I got into work, And my sergeant was like, look, I've got a sat phone in this building. He said, come straight with me, I'll get you in there and you can quick phone and just check everything's all right. And like, we don't want you bloody going on shift and
that's
switching off. Yeah. So I've got in there, dialed home, phoned my uncle Gary. I probably didn't work in the best, and it's because he's in the Navy. So I was like, hey Gary, he's like, yeah, all fine as well, all bubbly. I was like, bloody hell. I was like, hey mate. He's like, yeah, everything all right? I'm like, yeah, mate, I've just seen something. He was like, yeah, what have you seen? I was like, well, is everything all right back home? And then at that point he went, no, sadly Nan passed away this morning. I was like, I've just seen on Facebook. And he went, you seen on Facebook? And then he was a little bit, you could hear him getting a bit angry. He's like, have you been into work yet?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've just arrived here now, but I've not gone into the main part. He's like, right, you're probably going to go in a minute, and you're probably going to be, because he knew the system. He's like, you're probably going to be, your OC's going to come in and probably have a chat with you.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I'll end up phoning you back in a minute. Yeah. And obviously I was a bit emotional at this time.
Yeah, of course.
I've walked in, and my OC's come in, pulled me to the side. And he said, well, obviously you found out through shitty Facebook.
Honestly, I don't know what to say to that.
That's it. And then so we rang my uncle together and we were kind of talking what to do. And like I said, I wasn't a frontline infantryman on that. So we were kind of, we had it a lot luckier than the rest. But so my OC turned around and said to me and said, he said, what do you want to do? Do you want to go home? And I was like, well, I was trying to... Like I said, I was with a great bunch of lads as well. I didn't
hard time to make a decision.
Exactly, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I was like, as blunt as this may sound, but I was kind of like, well, although it's really upsetting, there's nothing I can do. Unfortunately, she has passed away.
I can see that. Yeah.
But if there's any way I can get back for the funeral, that'd be greatly appreciated. And lo and behold, he's like, yeah, I'll make it happen. And before I knew it, I'd thrown out. I've had 2 days either side, flown back, and my dad had flown back from Bulgaria, picked me up from Bryce Norton. I have no idea to this day how he got to where he got to past the security, because he picked me up almost at the bottom of the stairs of the plane. And,
wow.
That's just him all over. He just bluffs his way.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And he picked me up and we drove back and dealt with that moment in life. So kind of from there is when it started to really well, I got back to Afghan after that. Finished off, I think I had 2 more months left. Yeah. And finished that off. And it's only then when I got back to normality back home, I'd done your decompression and they make sure you're right and then send you home. And it's kind of dawned on me now that obviously little things that don't really matter as such, I guess now. So like where I was living, I was like, oh crikey, what's happening here? And then also because I'd postponed my selection for the Special Forces, I was due to go on it in January. So I was there like stressing about that. And there are some really good people in the forces, and some people got that, and some people didn't. And one of the good guys, he was my officer in charge back in Northern Ireland. And before I went home on leave, he was just like, because he come from that background as well. And he said to me, he was just like, Rawlings, are you sure this is going to be the right time? I understand obviously you had a loss while you were over there. Are you sure? And when you see these TV programs and they're saying it's all mental, it really is. Yeah. Obviously, physical element is a certain degree. You can't just rock up and mince it.
Yeah, but some preparation is required.
That's it. And I was just kind of that young, stubborn, early 20s, just like, I've got this, it's not a problem at all. And I think, I was my own worst enemy. And sadly, that was, by early 2012, I'd burnt out. I was mentally, I think I was still training as well. Yeah. I think I should have just at some point just said, I need to just rest everything.
It doesn't sound like you gave yourself the opportunity to sort of process it really. You just sort of like wanted distraction straight away.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it now.
Great distraction.
And, that was a most difficult time for me. And it was a very painful time for me as well. That was...
Hopefully it doesn't stir up anything now.
No, absolutely. Like I say,
will, sure.
It took a long time for me to process that, and I really did.
I can't imagine.
In a sense, where the next direction in my life came from then. So to that end, I decided yeah, like I said, at that point I decided to leave the army.
Yeah.
I didn't leave through. I just left through my own. I signed off in the end. And I was kind of, obviously that was a massive decision. That was,
of course it is.
Because when I initially signed up, in my eyes,
I was
there for life.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all I really wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, I love a film and stuff, but I never thought it would go down to...
I suppose you don't, Cornwall's quite an isolated place, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it.
It's hard to imagine yourself, in being an actor, I suppose.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so when I left, like I said, that stretch of that year period for me was the most difficult time of my life.
I mean, what would you say that, it sounds like there was multiple things there, but I mean, maybe somewhere else. Where would you say there'd been a problem in your life that you'd had to overcome yourself? It sounds like it might be something.
Yeah, exactly. So that was I had to overcome and adapt myself. I think I learned a lot about myself in that space of time. I was trying to understand everything, and I had to then take a step back and just put each of these things that had kind of, I wouldn't say messed my career up, but obviously it had affected me big time.
Yeah.
And
a lot of lessons.
I had to really take a step back and then think, did I deal with this one right? And then and that's kind of self
reflection.
Yeah, and I was like, well, how could I have done that better? And then obviously I couldn't. There's nothing I can do. It is now. That classic.
Would you say, if you look back at that now, do you think that you do the best with a bad situation? Could you say that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't regret those decisions now. And like I said, at the moment in time, I felt that those were the right decisions.
Yeah, that's all you can do is make the right decision in the moment.
Yeah. Right? Like I said, there's probably a few more little hidden details on there. I won't go too much into, but like I said, it just all came congregating together, and that was ultimately the end of my career at that moment in time in the army.
So a problem you overcome yourself.
Yeah,
tricky one. That.
It is. Very tricky. I think it was the signing off bit. When I had to sign, when I realised.
How old was you then?
24.
Man, that's young,
24. And like I said, you kind of. These were the most adult decisions. Like I said, I planned that was my career long-term goal.
Yeah. Gosh.
And that was massive for me.
Yeah.
And I did. That was massive. Yeah, overcoming it just because I was going. It was sleepless nights for a few weeks, and I didn't want to make any rash decisions.
Yeah,
but and in the end, it was just I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah, and just thin line between that procrastinating and sort of making decisions. Am I making the right decision?
That's it. 'Cause it is big. It's not massive, like. It's not like you're quitting a job out in your normal civilian street.
This is like a lifestyle.
There is a process to doing it as well.
And expect if you change your mind, it's hard to get back.
Exactly. It really is. And like I said, so you had to try and think of all the long-term effects this could have. And obviously, ultimately, I was like, at that moment in time, I was like, I've got nothing to really go back to at the minute. But then, ultimately, at that point, which was a massive blessing, is I met my wife. So then we started dating at that point.
Good
so that was then it started to brighten up a little bit, and so that was the happy spell out of that, and then obviously things started to take a turn a little bit. But then again, saying that, I think job satisfaction wise, that's when you kind of still. Obviously, that side of things was brilliant, it wasn't long before we moved in together, and just trying to crack on out on Civilian Street, really. Nice. Where I guess the
bit
next
of adaptation. Did it take a little bit of adapting? Did it?
Yeah, it did. It was still. Yeah, it does. It's just getting used to the way people, because obviously. You come from such a disciplined background.
It's like almost when he comes off, he's always like, "Why are people not doing this?" And it's like, "No, because people don't do that."
Yeah, it's just like the basic discipline, and I feel like that's one of the fundamentals at the minute in society. I think sometimes we just lack a little of, and and like I said, and you notice that I think more from every day being told what to do. You kind of leave school, especially for those of us that go in from a young age. You leave school in a bubble. And in the army, you're in a protective bubble. Yeah. So a lot of these people, even like I feel.
But that's the word, though, isn't it? Protective. It's there to protect you because rules develop because something went really wrong somewhere down the line.
And I feel, and as soon as you leave, which was again, coming back to the problem overcome, that was one thing as well. Found really hard to overcome, basically, because you're used to having everything. I wouldn't say at your beck and call, but you don't, like, from healthcare. All of a sudden that's gone. Like, I soon found out I had a toothache or something. A year down the line, I was like, what do I do now? Like, normally I book into the med centre. They'd book me in the next day and rip it out or whatever. Well, not the rip it out. They would do proper treatments. And that was one thing. I was hit with I could only get into a private one at a time, and I was like hit with a massive tooth. I was like, holy poop. So again, it was just like getting used to those things, and even like a few years down the line, certain some you took for granted in the forces, and then you kind of, bloody hell, that was But and that's one thing I feel sorry for people who come out at a very later age, because like I said, if you join at an early age and you come out in your 40s, 50s, you haven't got this bubble anymore. I think that's quite a lot to process.
I mean, I suspect the younger you are, the easier it is to adapt. The longer you're in there.
That's one of my opinions as well on that one. Is, like I said, you're still young and youth is on your side. The world's still your oyster. You can. Unfortunately, for someone coming out, obviously, don't get me wrong. I know
40. I'm not even.
I know some great guys that are left at in their 50s and stuff like that, and obviously they have utilised the qualifications they've got. I know one guy, in fact, actually, family friend, he left. I believe he was in the parachute regiment for 5 years, and then he joined the Metropolitan Police, but then into CO19, and he had a full-on good career, obviously coming from London background, so you know who those guys are, and he was a firearms instructor. So that qualification, so when I left, I was really unsure what I wanted to do, so I ended up using the money I'd saved to go into a close protection course. Luckily, it was around the time of the Olympics, so I found work pretty easy there. So me and him kind of stuck together. I was like a little lost lad. I was this little sheep, because he had all the qualifications and he managed to pull me in. So I went and did that, and then we ended up going out to Bulgaria together to do the maritime course, which I think is probably one of the randomest things I've ever done. So we ended up studying in the Bulgarian Naval College, I think for a week or two. And we were stuck with a bunch of guys, I think, they were trying to form like a mercenary group or some kind. But it was very ego oriented. But we had all sorts there. There was about 12 of us, but we had like a few guys from the Foreign Legion, Polish commandos, French GIGN guys. We had Bulgarian special forces there, and a few mix and match of everyone. But it was, even as a young lad at the time, where you'd think probably I'd be a jumped up little turd or something. But it was very, like I said, it soon became quite ego orientated.
And it was at that point, all blokes things do, unfortunately. And
and this is what I've said before to a few friends, like, they're like, what, that's so like weird and random. But as I said, it was at that point as well, you can really see the when they say, probably smoke, we get in trouble, they couldn't slap me on the wrist. But when they say the British Army is the best in the world, it was at that point you can really see the discipline side of that kicking in. Because some of us, they were handing guns around, and we were on the beach one day, and some of them would just be there firing just into the sea, and there'd be like families around on the beach. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
And they were just, drinking whiskey. It was a lot of whiskey drinking. Luckily.
Because everyone knows guns and whiskey works.
Exactly. Yeah. God. So this guy I was talking about, he's my uncle, or he's my missus's uncle. He doesn't drink, he's teetotal. So he was a good role model for me at that moment in time and kept me on track. Don't get me wrong, I had a sip of whiskey, although it wasn't my friend, but I'd never mix it with guns. And it was even at that point, we were just like, right, we'll call it a day there, and we ended up coming back home. So it was a short-lived close protection and maritime. But I mean, we worked the Summer Olympics together in 2012.
What was that like?
That's brilliant. We were really well looked after the company. It was. I mean, I'd never been paid anything like that before. So for me, it was just at that moment in time, it was just like, wow.
It's nice to know that is well paid for, because it's something that's vital in my life.
Like I said, I came off the course, and I just thought, and I soon realised on the course that actually I don't think I'm going to probably excel in this industry. That at the moment, again, in that moment in time, a lot of Marines and Army guys were being made redundant. They had the tranches coming out, and these guys were just way above me at the time, and I kind of. I think I probably could have, but I had no intentions to move to London.
Right.
I think I probably could have come. You got so many different elements in close protection. I think I probably could have become a residential, but you live in a house with the client, and that side of things that's not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
I think I kind of saw the bigger. I kind of saw the picture in the magazine, something, I'll be escorting celebrities and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, there was the odd one coming out of the Olympics, like Amir Khan. There's some. I'm not a big football fan, but there were some footballers. I couldn't tell you there were.
No, I didn't.
But
I'm not going to ask.
It just got. But I mean, a lot of it was just for me at that time. It was basically, we were mainly just security guards, really, but we were supervising a team of like 20 guys.
Never had any incidents?
No. We were quite lucky with that one. I think London overhaul. I think there was a bit of before it all started. There was a massive cry for help. I think G4S. I think something along the lines of there wasn't that many security guards.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
They promised.
I actually quite remember that. Actually,
so a lot of subcontracts were going out, and we managed. Well, I finished the course, and so I'd met another army guy. He'd just done 20 odd years in the army, and he was staying at this coast protection place, and it was a building. Luckily, some of us got to stay there. It was like a 2 weeks intensive course. It was up at 5. It was run by some Polish guys, and they're proper massively into their MMA as well. Okay. So they were training before, a bit of training in the evenings. It was great. I'm glad I did it. But they tended to like kind of look after their own, so to speak. And
I've experienced that actually. I have actually experienced that before.
Yeah.
I used to do some fighting a long time ago, and I know what you mean.
Like I said, it was a great experience. But this guy, the room we were in was like a tin shed, and I don't know if you remember 2012. It was bloody hot. It was that summer was hot.
Yeah.
And
especially in London.
So basically, while he was on that course, he had come from Germany. He left the army from Germany straight to this course, and while he was on the course, his wife had left him, so he was basically stuck there. Really great guy, still good friends to this day. So he was stuck there, and I got back home, and I think 2 days in, it was roasting. I just said, Andy, come on down, come stay here for a few days. And he came down, and whilst in between the beach, he was on it with his laptop, and credit where due, because I was being a Cornwall beach bum at the time. He was just like, found us work in London. Yeah. We can leave. I think the opening ceremony had just happened. Yeah. He's like, we can be in London. I think say for Monday, for argument's sake, opening ceremony. He said we can be there on Wednesday. They'll pay us X amount of pounds, and we were just like amazing. So he got me, Phil, my uncle-in-law, and him, and I think there was one other guy on the course. Like, because obviously when you're on courses, you can kind of gauge who's switched on, I guess.
Who do you want around you?
And we formed a nice little tight knit at that point. And so we got this job, went up there, and it worked well. Like I say, it was a short-lived, tiny career. And at that point again, started kind of spiraling down. And then I ended up working in a shop for about 2-3 years. Okay. It wasn't what I wanted to do.
So what led you from that position all the way to the acting? Because you've done more acting since then, right?
Yeah. So by now we're in, I think. So I started to do a little bit in 2015. That's when it all really started to.
So let's start with what films have you been in?
I've done The Mummy.
Oh really? What, the one with
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I felt there was a little baby when I was. So I did The Mummy. I've done The Commuter. With Liam Neeson. I've done the new Dr. Dolittle that came out at the beginning of this year.
That's Robert Downey Jr. Right?
Yeah, that was a good experience.
Did you get to meet him at all?
I did actually. Yeah. So
you met Iron Man. That's ridiculous.
I know. That's what I kept thinking, and a really nice bloke as well.
I'd imagine he is.
I think he came off the Avengers tour on this particular day we met him, and I was playing a soldier at the time, and his family had arrived, his wife and kids, and this was like one of the most normal things I've seen. Like, so don't get me wrong, the majority of them I've met have been absolutely brilliant. But he was like, guys, I don't mean to stop production, but I just want to say a quick hi to my wife and kids, and it was almost like, wow, that was like
cool,
surreal. They turned up. He's obviously given a hug and stuff, and that was really, really nice. And
nice.
It was a great little film to work on that one. Did one of the they're called Snow White and the Huntsman. I
Yeah.
did Winter's War.
Snow White and the Huntsman. What's that one? Who's in that one?
The Huntsman, yeah, it was Huntsman. Winter's War, it was, yeah. So that was Charlize Theron, Emily Blunt, Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. So you met Thor as well. Is that Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah. So I did met him. Yeah, I had a couple of his chips.
You've got a few more Avengers to go through. I love it. Me and my boys love the Avengers and Marvel films and all that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It certainly captivated the audiences over the last few years, haven't they? It's been really good, especially the CGI effects. It's been incredible.
So, what's next on sort of the movie things and where are you at now?
So, with that, when I first started out, I started doing a bit of extra work because I was kind of like, well, I just want to be in a film again. I don't know. Something then came biting me back from when I'd done it before. Yeah. I thought, do you want to be an extra? So I think it must have been at the time. My dad's ex-girlfriend messaged me saying they're looking for ex-armed forces people with costumes.
You're like, I got this.
Yeah. I thought, but he got boxes of it.
Yeah,
so so I messaged this lady who, brilliant lady, Debbie, and she's now a massive part of that industry for me as well. And so I ended up being an extra on Doc Martin, playing a soldier, which was great. And then lo and behold, from there, I then went quiet with Debbie for a couple of years, and then I was getting more Doc Martin. I think the last 2-3 series have been on somewhere in there as an extra, and then did a lot of the German stuff that's filmed in Cornwall, the Rosamund Pilcher stuff, and I started doing the Delicious, the Dawn French stuff.
Oh yeah, we like that.
That was brilliant. That was really good again because I was going back and back at it, you get to know the actors and actresses, and you do create friends, and obviously the extra stuff. You will have a little tight community, but I just wanted more. I wanted more from it, and then I think. Don't quote me on this one, but I think it might have been the Mummy. I'd gone away and I'd met an ex-military guy who was the military supervisor. Yeah. And he was like, you need to be doing more. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you can be doing more. Have you thought about training for the stunt register and stuff? And I was like,
how cool.
I've heard about it, but I don't really know. And then at that point, so I started taking up rock climbing again to try and get the amount required for that. Took up gymnastics. Like karate, and trying to do all the things to make me proficient to do that. So I was training for the stunt register. I believe that's what it's called.
So how do you do that?
So it's got to be registered. So
becoming a stuntman.
So on Equity, there is a list of all these things that are recognised by the Stunt Association, and you've got to become qualified in 7. It might have changed now. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a couple of years now since I've really looked at that stuff. But at that time you've got to be proficient in 7 things. Not just that, it can't be any old things, but
cooking,
cooking.
Gardening,
I cook an awesome omelette. And that really took a fancy, and I've done. And anyway, I started doing some small special action stuff as well, so which provided a lot of sword fighting. So I did King Arthur, the Legend of the Sword. So that was a great one for me. I really enjoyed that. Apart from wearing so many layers in June, July, it was roasting hot. Yeah. But the amount of stars that were on that film production was just phenomenal. And I think I just finished watching Sons of Anarchy at the time, and then it's like, this is Charlie Hunnam. You got to have a chat with him, which was the most starstruck one for me.
Really? But Sons of Anarchy was cool, man.
Yeah,
it's one of the very few sort of I think it's HBO, isn't it? Where it ended really well, and obviously I'm talking about Sopranos not ending brilliantly. Yeah, but Sons of Anarchy did. That was a really good one.
And that was, I finished watching it, and. I'd come, and then all of a sudden the guy's there in front of my face.
That is crazy.
Because, I never thought, like I said, before that I'd met Chris Hemsworth and like massive fan. He does a brilliant job. These guys are class. And all these people have been amazing as well. They've been friendly, they chat to you.
Because they never meet your sort of heroes or heroes.
That's it. And a few people at that time said, oh, God, you don't want to do that, you want to meet heroes. So, well, so far, so good. It's been good. Really nice. You get to chat away. And there's Aidan Gillen, who'd been, who was on that, who was Game of Thrones, Peter Baelish guy. He played Peter Baelish. Jaemin Honsoo, the guy from Gladiator, the slave guy in Gladiator. He'd done Never Back Down, the fighting one, the main trainer. Again, brilliant. Like that guy's been in so many films. It's unreal.
And they're actors like that. They're everywhere.
And like the ones you meet where you've grown up seeing them in so many films, and then all of a sudden they're just there in front of you. It's surreal, and it's one of those things I find. Yeah, you enjoy it, and like I said, sometimes you don't always get to chat to them.
No, I suppose.
But you know, when you do it, it's brilliant. And then
do they give you plenty of time, sort of thing? It doesn't feel rushed, or is it usually quite?
Yeah, there's a lot of downtime. Whether you're an extra or the actor or the stuntman, you know, there is quite a few.
It's intriguing, all that world.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, the one thing I find it amazing is like when you're seeing it on the film, because TV's different. It's a little bit different to the film side of things, and it just, you're looking at it from the TV, like, did not look like that when I was there. It's just obviously a lot of it now. Like, CGI just does, especially on the film stuff. It's just incredible.
Films like that as well,
and I still find it amazing. Like a few people have said to me, you're not spoiled? Does that not spoil it for you? And I think it's incredible.
I mean, so like obviously, like I said at the beginning or somewhere in the interview, you grew up in Cornwall, and you've met all these amazing people and had all these great opportunities in the sort of obviously not putting aside the army or anything. That was obviously a fantastic thing to have done. But being in the movies, meeting all the stars, experiencing all that, what advice would you give to yourself for 10 years ago, but also someone who's in Cornwall who wants to do what you're doing? What would you say to them?
I think, you know, especially at this day and age, be kind and be polite.
Nice.
Manners goes a long way. One thing I found on the movie sets, you can meet some people who are not so pleasant. Not the production staff, that they've always been great, but you'll meet people who just don't want to be there. I've had chats with people, they're like effing and blinding, and they're like, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, do you
know what I've done to get here?
Well, going back to, you know, but I mean, there was a point when I was in the shop and I was working in the phone shop, and it was not me. Didn't really want to be there, but I had to do, you know, just to obviously make ends meet, really. And
just a little point in your life, isn't it? You know?
Again, another little mental struggle there. I didn't know what to do, and I was doing a few little extra pieces here and there. And at that point, I joined an extra agency in London, and there was points where I was going to London for a day. I was travelling up at 2 o'clock in the morning, getting on set for like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd finish at 10 o'clock at night, drive straight back down to Cornwall to go into the shop the next day, all because I wanted it that much.
That's cool.
And that started to become quite noticed as well. And I was speaking to briefly to an old friend I caught up with who'd done acting degrees, and they've done really well with the stage shows, you know, the West End. And it was agreement. It's not what you know; it's who you know. And like I said, coming back to the manners things, if you're polite and you just crack on and do it but with a smile, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I forget her name now, it's really bad, but she's helped me out within the movie side really well. Quite a few years ago, there was a few productions I'd done back to back, and she was there every time. And she's like, "Did you drive from Cornwall?" Well, the first time I met her, she was like, "Says you're from Cornwall. Did you drive from Cornwall today?" And I went, "Yeah, I've just arrived." And she's like, "Oh my God!" And then I'd done one production. I think she was on. I met her again on Dr. Dolittle. And obviously, like you come, like as you get to know him, and she's like, "Oh, we better make it worth your while this time." So she's like, "Can you come with me a minute?" So I've gone in there. I've gone into this room with about 500 cameras, all in a thing. So basically, they 3D scanned me, and so basically they're going to so basically make it look like more soldiers there than what it is. And then there was another one they did. So basically, I don't know if they did or not, but if they made merchandise like plastic figers, then my body would have been that thing. Which is you were. I've looked everywhere for a Dr. Dolittle soldier type. I can't find one. I don't know if I'm missing it or. But that was really, really cool. And like I said, there was loads of sleepless, tired nights. You know.
Yeah.
You're there, especially like some of the days. But don't get me wrong, I've had friends in London that have put me up for the night, but obviously still driving up at silly o'clock in the morning. I do love my family. I do want to spend as much time with them as possible.
Yeah. And off camera we spoke about that. People not understanding the sacrifices of some of these public figures.
Because my wife found it hard as well.
Yeah,
she hates it. You're going away. Although she was used to the end of my army career and going away with the security stuff. But yeah, it's not nice, and because sometimes
don't have a family to leave them and go.
That's it, and that is a difficult thing. I think she's become more. Yeah, she's become more used to it now. But it's just because she knows that makes me happy, and she's like, that makes you happy. That's like good for you. Like, go do it. But like I said, some of the stories it's come back with, it's just incredible. And I always find, I think another lesson I've learned is that life is short, and I think you're never going to, you don't know when the next opportunity is going to come around. So make the most of it whilst you're there.
Great advice.
And like sometimes people won't talk to other people on sets, and I think, God, this is so and so here.
Yeah.
I would just. There's been a couple of times I've just gone up and introduced myself and just see.
Screw it, let's go.
Yeah, that's it. And but I mean, I think my big one last year, name dropping. I don't know if Deb mentioned this, but I did Fast and Furious 9 last year.
Okay, cool.
And I was actually the stand-in for John Cena, which was just incredible. But when I first got there, I didn't know that. I was told I was going to the Fast 9 production, and this was. So standing is another element, I guess, of like an extra. But it's cool. You standing in, you got to have a certain look or height about you to fit it. And I put on
John Cena.
That guy was just impressive. And so the first day I had to do the camera test shots. So I'd arrived there, and I'd met the body double for like Vin Diesel and stuff like that, and then. I didn't know.
A whole bunch of you guys that looked like really.
At the time, it was quite. It was real, like top secret. Almost like there's no phones allowed, and it's hard. Sometimes you just want to bloody get a selfie or something, but you just can't do that, unfortunately. And that's probably, I wouldn't say regret, but I mean, I've got the memories and the stories, and that's good enough for me. But I went to the casting lady. I'm really sorry. I said, just checking, who am I standing in for? And she was like, you're Jacob, you're going to be John Cena's. And I was like, okay. I was like, wow. But funny enough, so my stepdaughter, she had arrived, it was at Warner Brothers Studios, so where the Harry Potter is, Leavesden Studios. And my stepdaughter had arrived there on a school trip, and I was going to try and go there on the lunch break to go and meet her, but unfortunately, it didn't kind of work out, but I ended up messaging it John Cena, because you kind of do your research a little bit, and you hear rumours of who's going to be in the films before the deadline. So I'd messaged and just said it is John Cena, because I thought it might have been someone else. I thought I'd bring him back from the Fast franchise. So this was incredible. So I got that. I got some really good feedback. I had some nice emails saying they thought
that's
really
quite
highly.
recent, isn't it? Really?
So this started in May last year. I think May or March. I can't remember. And this was incredible for me. The Fast and Furious franchise,
massive.
That's huge. That's
enormous.
And you grow up watching this film. I mean, I really enjoy them, and and so I've got to be careful what I say with the film. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. It's. That was just incredible, and then you're meeting all the cast as well. You're meeting the director. He directed a lot of the Fast and Furiouses, and these are massive, and quite a few of the production cast obviously have been on it from the early days, and this was crazy. And then I think the second or third time I got there, and the guy who was in charge of it, I forget his name. I should remember names more. But I arrived on set and he went, Shane, he said, I won't go into too much of the detail, but he said they were looking for a body double of John Cena, and I thought, who better to do it than you? So I was like, so I've been upgraded then. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then
that's a hell of a compliment anyway, right?
But at the time, I put on mass, and I put on a lot of mass. I went up to 110 kilos. Luckily for lockdown, I've found cardio again. I started enjoying that more. But so I went quite big for it as well, and I wanted to put a lot of effort into it. I wanted to be used more as well. And but I mean, every time when I first met John, he came over and shook my hand, and he didn't assume I know him. Real humble guy, and
I get that vibe from him. Not that I met him. I mean, I'm a wrestling fan, so
again, you grow up watching it, and these people. And a friend of mine from the security industry actually did his security he did his coast protection for the team. He follows them around on the flights and does it when they do the England tour when they come over. I'm not too sure about all that stuff, but yeah, no, it was just incredible. Just to meet this guy. I remember when he first shook my hand, I was looking down at his hand. His hand was just like shovels. I was going to crush me in a minute. But he was a massive guy, and he was like John Cena, and you just come away from it just like in awe. It was.
Shame you couldn't get a photo, isn't it?
Oh, I know, but they were where we were in the set.
Yeah,
it was quite on lockdown. No phones allowed.
Well, they didn't announce him as any part of it for quite a while.
It was quite a while, before.
Because I think I don't know, might have been something going on with Dwayne Johnson doing his own thing, wasn't it? So I don't know.
I don't know. I try not to. Yeah. Although when I was doing it. Someone did say to me, I need to go up to him and tell him Dwayne Johnson is stronger than you. Or something like along the lines of Dwayne Johnson could beat you up in a fight.
That might have been your last gig, I think.
I didn't really fancy getting smashed by those hands. Exactly. Cause some damage.
But he's not here right now, so...
you come away from it just like, wow. Like, it wasn't... I don't think I've ever met such a... I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen bodybuilders and stuff like that. But I don't think... I've seen such a
specimen.
Well,
he is though, and and one of the things that I think is incredible about someone like John Cena is that if you look back to his early wrestling career, he doesn't look much different. Now, I find that more impressive than someone getting bigger or smaller because he's
consistent.
He was a physical specimen when he was 20 and he's probably 40 odd.
Because he started off with a bodybuilding career.
Yeah, he did, And now he still looks exactly the same. That's impressive. Because I definitely don't look the same as I did when I was a kid.
So when I first chatted to him, I was chatting away and he said he just literally flown in straight from, I assume it was California. He was flown straight on set. And he was just like, and you can see the work ethic in these guys. They are relentless. There's like...
They're not about,
sleep,
I can't do this.
What's that?
Yeah.
It literally comes in and he's like, I wouldn't have it any other way. And you can see how much he really appreciated being in that moment. There was no rudeness to anyone. He was just such a nice guy. And like I said, you can see why they're there. Like they haven't got time to sleep. They are working every minute of the day.
They make it work, whatever it is.
Exactly, and it's really admirable. And you think I thought driving up from Cornwall that morning was impressive to get there.
And he's flown in from California or whatever.
And he's straight there, and you're like, wow. And he looks like he's had a full night's sleep, and it was just incredible.
Makeup helps, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we're just closing it up now. I mean, that was very recent by the sound of it. And it sounds, obviously, the passion I get from you about it, you obviously love it and you want to continue to do it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the plan? And you sort of, I'll
be honest, I'm quite happy at the moment with it all.
Right,
but going back to acting, because I don't have any acting experience, I've had to go backwards. So I still do like, all that stuff up in London on that side. But at the minute, I've kind of, with the acting, I've had to go backwards to be able to go forwards. So I'll come back and do short films for the students, and any short films, there's one in Bristol as well, so I do, I've done a mix array of that to help improve me as an actor. It's a massive learning curve. It puts me well out of my comfort zone, which I enjoy. Which is
great. It's where it should be. Everyone should be out there.
Exactly. Because it's always a challenge, and it's just incredible. But right now, there's been a few productions and they've been cancelled because of everything that's going on, unfortunately. But I'm just going to take it as it comes. But I'm happy doing, like I said, I do have a normal job as well. But it's a very good shift pattern, and they're very, very easygoing and flexible with what I do, which has been incredible. But
they love listening to you in the break room.
Well, it's like sometimes I think, oh God, I don't even want to tell them it because it just sounds like...
You feel like you sound like a douchebag or something.
But they all know it, and they love the story.
There's that humbleness you've learned. See?
They love like hearing about it, and they're like... My manager, he's just like, who did you meet this weekend? And I was like,
I love it.
But it's great. Yeah, like I said, I've met some really good friends for the film industry, and like I said, great contacts as well, and everyone likes to help each other out. And like I've had a friend go, I need a military advice on this. I've written a script. Can you just proofread it and just make sure everything sounds okay? So I get sent a script, and it's little things like that, and it's just keeps
you there, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's really, yeah, it's a hell of an industry.
It is, man. You should be proud of yourself because you know, not many. It's not luck or whatever, or being in the right place at the wrong time, right time. There's always an element of that, but it sounds like you're working hard, man, and I respect that.
That's it. Trying to juggle it as well as a family, obviously.
Yeah, well, it
is difficult, and you've got to keep that happy medium. But you equally got to do stuff that's going to make you happy inside. Yeah. And at the minute,
that's a really good point.
Yeah,
like you. If you don't do stuff that makes you happy, you become unhappy, and then, you know, potentially you make others around you unhappy. You
exactly.
So that's important. Shane, thank you so much for your time, mate.
You're more than welcome.
Have you got an Instagram or anything that you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm just Shane Rawlings on Instagram. Give us a follow, and I try to keep updated as best I can. Yeah. But yeah, feel free to follow it, and
Yeah, great. Well, Shane, thank you very much.
No worries.
And I wish you all the best. I'm going to look out for you now, and I'm going to basically find out if you can get a picture of The Rock or Cena. Or
it's a secret shot of The Rock beating up John Cena.
Yeah, if you can get that, you'll be loaded. Anyway, thank you very much, mate.
You're welcome.
Good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for another episode of the Strength Shed Sessions. Thank you so much to Shane Rawlings. What a great interview. What an incredibly lovely guy. What a really, really nice chap he is. One word to describe him: humble. We run for maybe, I think it would probably be going on for the best part of an hour. And it wasn't until the last 10 minutes that he tells me he is John Cena's stuntman. What? I'm kind of glad he told me at the end, because I think I probably would have spoke about that for an entire hour. So yeah, what an achievement, mate. You know, Cornish man done good. Really proud of you, really proud for you. You should be proud of yourself. You've really achieved quite a lot in your life, and you've had some remarkable moments. And I'm really grateful for your time today, and really grateful for you telling your story. Thank you very much. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, if you could follow me on Instagram, and you could like my Facebook page, that would be wonderful. I'd really appreciate it. I genuinely would. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on another episode of the Strength Shed Sessions.